We are going to move on to a game called What He Said versus What He Meant. And the guys are going to break down sound bites from around the league that tell you what they really meant. So let's start with Doc Rivers in last night's game over the Nets. The Clippers have the league's best record, 10-1 with that win. But Doc Rivers doesn't want you making a big deal about it just yet. So here's what he said last night.
You know, we're all saying you're like the best team in the league now.
No.
Do you not want that?
I don't care, really. I mean, at the end of the day, we like us, you know, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. We know as good as we're playing, and I said it before the game, we can be a lot better, and we're going to be better.
That was Ramona Shelburne in that clip, and I mean, you were at that game also, so that's what he said. What did he actually mean?
Don't you put that label on me, Ricky Bobby! Don't you do that! That's what that was. He basically doesn't want the target, the spotlight, the microscope to come on here. Because right now, in this season, we talk about who are the best two teams. Who's going to be in the finals? Cavs, Warriors. Clippers don't enter that equation. Now they're getting there.
People are having that conversation.
If you had that conversation, now that expectation went from, hey, you guys made the conference finals, good job, to how did you not make the finals, you failed again?
Right.
Too early in the season. You can't judge us right now. We have a long way to go. Hopefully we playing as good at the end of the season. We don't want to be the best right now.
Come on, but he feels like they're the best.
I was going to say, I think that
You can't say it, but
right, the thought bubble is, you know that we're the best, but I'm not going to say that.
Correct.
Let's move on to Steve Kerr and the Warriors. Yesterday, rumors of a potential trade involving the Warriors moving Klay Thompson to the Celtics surfaced, well, after former player Brian Scalabrine talked about it on the radio. Guess what? Didn't turn out to be anything to them, and here's what Steve Kerr had to say.
Steve, I know you kind of made a joke about it earlier, but when trade rumors like today pop up and they kind of surface throughout the web, do you have a conversation with Klay?
Honestly, I didn't even think about it. I didn't know about it until just now. I think our guys know that that stuff is almost always just BS.
Steven, what did he actually mean there?
He meant don't believe people on the outside looking in. If it don't come from this organization, hey, don't believe it.
Yeah, Scal's my guy, but Scal, come on, man. You can't just be quoting any old source, man. I mean, like, that's my thing. We kind of figured out this basketball thing. If it didn't come from us, it didn't come from the guys over at Yahoo, it didn't come from Bleacher Report. That's pretty much the NBA.com guys.
Yeah.
That's pretty much everybody. Anybody else outside of that, take that with a heaping of salt.
See, I think his thought bubble is this. Now I have to deal with this. I just got rid of the balloon conversation. Now I have to deal with this. Come on. I mean, look, he's got a lot. We're going to have a lot of what he said, what he meant in the NBA this season. That's just the beginning of it. We got to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to hear what these guys have to say about Draymond Green, calling himself one of the best players in the NBA. And by the way, I think what he meant is, I think I'm one of the best players in the NBA. You don't have to play this game with Draymond. Here is our distant replay, though. This takes us back to 2002 on this date.
Get out of the way. Let him go by him. Clear out. Let him go. Marion. I think Marion was in shock as the entire Suns bench went sideways. Watch this. I mean, that was They don't have that kind of crossover in Shanghai, would just be my guess.
We got a developing situation brewing between two of the biggest names in basketball, LeBron James and Phil Jackson. Here was LeBron just this morning after shoot-around.
I had nothing but respect for him as a coach, for what he was able to do. Obviously, he was at the helm of one of my favorite player of all time, MJ, and also been growing up and watching with the Lakers, but I got nothing for him.
I've got nothing for him. He said more, and we're going to play that for you, but let's give you the background first. Yesterday, ESPN.com published an interview with Phil. It touched on a lot of topics, but here's how Phil answered a question about Pat Riley and LeBron leaving the Heat. Quote, when LeBron was playing with the Heat, they went to Cleveland, and he wanted to spend the night. They don't do overnights. Teams just don't. So now Spoelstra has to text Riley and say, what do I do in this situation? And Pat, who has iron fist rules, answered, you are on the plane. You are with this team. You can't hold up the whole team. I'm going to slow down here so you can get this. Because you and your mom and your posse want to spend an extra night in Cleveland. Phil goes on. I always thought Pat had this really nice vibe with his guys, but something happened there where it broke down. I do know LeBron likes special treatment, he says. He needs things his own way. Now, it's important to give a little context here. We believe the incident Phil Jackson is referring to is when LeBron wanted to stay overnight so the next day he could host the entire team for Thanksgiving dinner at his house in Akron.
Monster.
Otherwise, they would have had to have Thanksgiving in a hotel conference room in Toronto. So not exactly selfish behavior there. Of course, it's not clear if Phil knew that, but anyway, last night, LeBron's close friend and longtime business partner, Maverick Carter, tweeted this, quote, after the hard work, effort, and achievement, and Phil Jackson still calls us a posse. Every step you take, they remind you, you ghetto. Carter later tweeted he wasn't calling Phil a racist, just calling out his, quote, disrespectful language. And he later elaborated to ESPN's Dave McMenamin, quote, it's the word posse and the characterization that I take offense to. If he would have said LeBron and his agent, LeBron and his business partners, LeBron and his friends, that's one thing. Yet because you're young and black, he can use that word. We're grown men. Again, some context. Two of LeBron's closest friends, the men you often see around him in important moments, are Maverick Carter, who at 34 years old helms several successful media companies, and Rich Paul, an agent who manages players and contracts worth many hundreds of millions of dollars. And here's a little context on the other side. Phil Jackson does have a long track record of speaking out on the side of racial equality. And not just talking the talk, but also walking the walk, which is partly why you heard LeBron say that in the past, he's had a lot of respect for Jackson. But apparently now that has changed. Here's the rest of what he said this morning.
I've been in this league 14 years, and from the beginning, 2 years in, I felt like that I wanted to, put my guys in position of power and give those guys an opportunity to better themselves. And in the beginning, we were highly criticized, and I was highly criticized about what I wanted to do to help some guys around me become very successful in business. And it just sucks that now at this point, having one of the biggest businesses that you can have both on and off the floor, having a certified agent in Rich Paul, having a certified business partner in Maverick Carter, that's done so many great business, that the title for young African Americans is the word posse. So it's for me, we see the success that we had, but then there's always someone that lets you know how far we still have to go as African Americans. And I just don't believe that Phil Jackson would have used that same term if he was doing business with someone else, working with another team, or if he was working with anybody in sports that was owning a team that wasn't African American and that had a group of guys around him that he didn't agree with what they did. I don't think he would have called him a posse. But it just shows how far we still have to go. He says it out to the media. You can only imagine what he says when the camera's not on him or the headset is not on or whatever you guys record on. So he's got a lot more work to do.
So that is extremely strong. First, the comment where he says, I can only imagine what he says when the camera isn't on him. That's a shot. And then also making the point that he thinks this is explicitly about race, because he says that he doesn't think Phil Jackson would use that term if he wasn't talking about someone who was African American. I mean, what did you take away from this whole situation?
Well, there's several levels, right? Level one is we can focus on the word. The word definitely is loaded language. Mm-hmm. As people of color, we're accustomed to this, that in society, people don't say the words that they want to say a lot of times, so they use kind of this coded language, and that's supposed to refer to, the one that a lot of comedians always use, the you people. Right. That's a variation of you people, particularly when you talk about the term posse, it really, as it refers to people who are around professional athletes. It really started in the early 90s, this idea that the guys around them are their posse, right? And at the most benign level, you're talking about some dude on your couch eating Cheetos. So I'm like, hey, we need some more beer. At the most obscene level, it's the guys that handle the problems because I'm too big to handle the problems myself. Either way, that is a disrespectful characterization of Maverick Carter, of Rich Paul,
Of the people around
and the
LeBron
people
James.
around LeBron James.
Very disrespectful. Where we come from, you very seldom get an opportunity to reach the top and be successful with the people who struggle with you. Coming from that area, you salute LeBron James and being able to put his two friends in position of power and doing it the right way.
Right.
A lot of guys get this opportunity and not able to get it done. LeBron has done it the right way. Mav has done it the right way. Rich has done it the right way. You have to salute them. I would definitely feel offended by those remarks, by all the hard work they've put, by all the hard work LeBron does. You know, it's an insult, and I would take it as such.
I mean, Rich Paul represents the #1 overall draft pick in last year's draft, Ben Simmons. I mean, this is a business and a series of businesses that have had great success, to your point. And I think there's also a history here that LeBron referred to in that clip that he's had to endure. I mean, remember the letter that Dan Gilbert wrote when he left Cleveland that had a lot of racial overtones and was a big problem for a lot of people. There was some back and forth with Pat Riley in Miami that's clearly not quite over. And now this, and I mean, you were talking about a point in Phil Jackson's, one of his books where this came up.
In the book, The Last Season, there was an excerpt specifically about LeBron James. And he says, and here's a quote right here, "In the Cleveland game, I was impressed with LeBron James, who has made strides since we played the Cavs during the exhibition season. Yet, as talented as this kid definitely appears to be, I don't believe he or any 19-year-old should be playing in the NBA.
Wait for it.
These young men grow so dependent on their posses who fetch their cars and their girls that they can't possibly develop into mature, self-sufficient human beings. One day, I'm convinced we'll find out the true extent of the psychological damage that's being caused. Don't tell me that he was just using a word to mean like, oh, the guys in the Old West. There's a very specific connotation there that he's used before
in relation
specifically
to
to LeBron James, right? And the other thing I wanted to touch upon beyond that, and I don't want to distract from that, but what Stephen said is really interesting because a lot of times in this country, disenfranchised people are not able to progress, not because they're not talented enough or smart enough, but because the opportunities are not there, right? So I said about this on the NBA Lockdown podcast. In the autobiography of Malcolm X, he talks about working for a guy named West Indian Archie, a numbers runner. He said this guy was a math genius, but because he never had anybody give him opportunity or steer him in the right way, he becomes a numbers runner, a organized crime guy. In a different set of circumstances where people are investing in you as a human being, this guy could have been a math professor. Same thing here. LeBron James is given opportunities to dudes who otherwise probably wouldn't have had those. Now, it's up to them to make the most of those opportunities, and they have.
And that, by the way, is its own whole separate storyline that we don't talk about that much with LeBron James. But the way he has empowered black business owners, the way he has created businesses for people who, as you say, is disenfranchised, is something in the number of things that we do or don't give him credit for probably should get talked about more. And if it was, frankly, J.J. Redick and a bunch of his friends from Duke that we were talking about here, and one of his guys negotiated $1 billion deal with Nike, which, by the way, this group of guys did, and then started 2 entertainment companies that have deals with Warner Brothers and NBC. I don't think anyone's using the word posse, correct?
You got an office on Warner Brothers' lot. That's huge. But the thing is, too, if you ever seen Dan Gilbert travel, he travels with 20 people. Around the time David Falk, he traveled with a lot of people. Oren Tellem had a lot of people traveling with him. Was that a posse then? No, but you have a rich young black man, 35 years old, that's doing it the right way. It's always going to be a problem.
And by the way, the other thing I was going to say, even if we get away from this word, right, there's the other part of this, which is, look, you want to talk about players being entitled? I seem to remember Michael Jordan going down to Atlantic City in the middle of the playoffs. I seem to remember Dennis Rodman being given a pass to go to Vegas on an off day. You want to have stories about entitled players doing things? Start on your own teams, Phil. Why are you talking about other people? Right?
And to solve a lot of these problems, worry about what you can control.
By the way, the Knicks are terrible. I don't know if any America. I don't know. We kind of disguise all that. The Knicks are awful, and they've been awful.
And there's also an age issue here too, right? Phil is 71 years old. You have an old model here where all the power went to big management companies, IMG, CAA, and all the power went to the Phil Jacksons and the Pat Rileys of the world. And times have changed, and players have more power, and the people around them have used that power in smart ways. That kind of stuff is important to recognize. So even if you take race or not race out of it, and by the way, you shouldn't, because there is a racial side of this to discuss, it is dismissive and condescending. Right. And that is sort of the secondary part of this that is just as important. We do have to go to break.